Woo! Great morning. Fired up. Day after Christmas. That means all the games are over. That means all that food is over. That means I ate too much. I don't know about you if you ate too much, but I ate way too much rich food. Time to get back to focus. Back to focus, baby. So let's get it. Happy holidays. Hope you're having a great time. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're having a great week, month, and end of year. And I'm so fired up to be starting Triple M. Thank you guys for everybody that's tuning in live and everybody that's going to watch the recording. If you're watching the recording, thank you guys so much. I'm fired up because we got a new week. Literally, we're in the last week of 2016. I want you guys to think there's only about 7 days left in the year right now. Dang, that's crazy. Another year flew by. So let's get it. Let's make the most of our last 7 days. Let's appreciate, recognize, celebrate this amazing year, and let's move powerfully into this 2017. Because 2017 is going to be the best year yet. Guaranteed. If you take the principles from these Triple M, like morning videos, morning talks, morning discussions, and apply them to your life, knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is power. So you're getting the knowledge here, apply it in your life, and that comes with your notes. So make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you're excited to share your takeaways at the end because we want to hear from you. And if you're at work and you can't talk for some reason, most of you guys may be off of work today, so we can maybe get a lot of shares. But if you can't talk, type your response in the chat bar because we would love to hear from you. And let us know where you're calling in from, zooming in from, because we're all over the world, baby. So without further ado, we're going to be listening to Bob Proctor today talk about where the secret is at. And I'm going to tell you guys a little hint. It's not inside your comfort zone. So let's get it.
You know, some time ago, John Canary gave me a little piece of literature about getting out of the comfort zone that was written by Bob Riggs in southern Florida. And there's some excellent information in here. Many of us are pretty comfortable in our life. We've got a reasonably good income. The mortgage is paid. There's food in the fridge. We've got a nice warm bed to sleep in. And everything seems to be floating along just fine. And you know, a person in that position could very easily think, why would I want to do anything to change this? Well, we have found that if your life is not going in one direction, it absolutely, by law, must be moving in another direction. And Riggs is talking about that here. He said many of us have established a comfort zone in our lives. We're just coasting along, taking the line of least resistance, just getting by. Now, he said this is a very common and understandable attitude. We've all worked hard to get to where we are, and it may seem a very good place to be. The problem with this is that once we stop reaching, stretching, seeking, and risking, we actually stop growing. Now, Riggs goes on to say that the comfort zone frame of mind is settling for what we are today. That may be fine today, but without continued growth, and I believe this is the key line coming up, we are now all we are ever going to be. Now, for me, that would be a fairly disturbing thought. He went on to say, if you're in a comfort zone, beware. The danger of a comfort zone is that it doesn't hurt, and it might even feel good. Many take that to mean it's a good place to be, but it's not. A comfort zone may be what is holding you back from real growth, real accomplishment, and your potentially exciting and rewarding future. Now, I've mentioned if we're not going in one direction, we must by law be going in another direction. You're either creating or you're disintegrating. Whenever we hear a person say, I like it just the way it is, we know that person is advertising their ignorance of a very basic law of life because absolutely nothing stays the way it is. Now, if you'll take a look at the top of page 2, there is a concept there by Sidney Herbert Wood, and it's the test of an educated person. I think many of us have had a false concept programmed into our mind with respect to education. We, I think, have been raised to believe that education is going to school for a certain number of years and be able to correctly answer a series of questions. But you know, many people will go to school all their life and be able to correctly answer the questions. But then when it comes to getting out into the marketplace and really making it happen, they just don't know how to compete. Many are withdrawn. They don't even feel comfortable meeting or greeting a stranger. Well, Wood said the test of an educated person is, can I entertain a new idea? Now, I think you know, and I know, that if we're going to improve, we have to have a very open mind. I once heard that an open mind was being prepared to throw away some of our most cherished beliefs when a better idea comes along. Now, you'll find that the vast majority of people seems to back into the future, dragging all of their old experience with them. When they're confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? If it doesn't, then they say it's wrong. Now, what we want to do is ask ourselves, would this new idea improve the quality of my life, or would it get me going in the other direction? Can I entertain a new idea? Today and tomorrow, you're going to be asked to entertain many new ideas, but every one of the ideas that we're going to share with you are going to be positive, they're going to be creative, they're going to be constructive, and they'll definitely improve the quality of your life. Then we see the second one, can I entertain another person? Now, there's many people that would feel totally uncomfortable walking up to a stranger and just saying, hi, how are you today? Pleased to meet you, Jan. Now, do you know some people, when it comes to meeting a person, their head is down, their hand is wet, they're shaking inside, their heart is pounding, and they only do it because they really have to. They would just as soon pull away from the new person. Now, that individual has not learned very much, if anything, about themselves, because we should feel totally comfortable meeting anyone, anywhere, at any time. And then he asks, can I entertain myself? Well, you know, many people are not able to entertain themselves. I spent half my life not being able to entertain myself. I always had to be around someone else. It was always, come on, let's have a party. I absolutely hated being alone. And that was because I really didn't like myself. Now, I have found through studying the ideas that we're going to cover here over the next couple of days, we can develop into very interesting and reasoning companions. Most of the time that we live, we do spend with ourselves. And you're going to find that some of the very best conversations you ever have are going to be with yourself. I get so excited about some of mine, I talk right out loud. That draws, a strange look from people from time to time, but you get such great ideas going in your mind that you just can't help it. Now, here in the first paragraph, we say that this program, You Were Born Rich, is based on the premise that you have rich resources lying dormant within you. I have heard many people laugh when they take a look at our program or take a look at the title of the book, Born Rich. You see, they think that means that you've been born into great wealth. Some people are, but some people are not. But everyone, without exception, has been born with tremendous resources lying within them. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability. And through following right rules and natural laws, we're going to find that we can draw that potential to the surface and we can bring it to bear, and it will cause the manifestation of prosperity in our material world. Now, in almost all the seminars that either John or myself does, we take and we put an R here in the board. Now, what I would like to suggest you do is you let that R represent the results that you're getting in your life. Now, there's three areas that we're going to suggest that you focus on. One is happiness, one is health, and another one is material wealth. Now, when I first started to study this material, I was not happy, I was not healthy, and I definitely was not wealthy. I had a chap sit down with me, and he saw something in me that I obviously wasn't capable of seeing in myself. His name was Raymond Stanford, Raymond Douglas Stanford. In fact, I named my son after him, Raymond Douglas Proctor. And Ray looked at me and he said, Bob, let this here represent results that you're getting in your life. Then he asked me if I thought he was a happy person, and I said, yeah, thought he was. He said, have you ever seen me sick? And I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I was broke? And again I had to admit I hadn't. Well, he proceeded to tell me that he thought I was one of the most miserable people he had ever met. Well, and you know it was true. I was an unhappy human being. He said, you're always sick. Now, I didn't have a terminal illness, but I always had a headache or a cold or a backache or something. And he pointed at the area of money. He said, you're always broke. He said, you're forever trying to hit somebody up for a couple of dollars for gas. Now, if I was to put this in proper perspective for you, I was earning $4,000 a year at the time, and I owed $6,000. So do you see, I wasn't really interested in being happy or healthy at the time. I figured if I could just get this money problem straightened out, everything was going to be great. He proceeded to tell me that there were certain laws governing happiness, and if you follow them, you can just keep getting happier and happier. That sounded a little foreign to me, but that was his opinion. And he pointed out that you and I have an ingenious system built within us to keep our body in excellent working order. And then when he talked about the area of money, he said, you know, he said there's exact laws governing wealth. And he pointed out, he said, this stuff cannot talk, but it can hear. And he said, if you call it, it'll come. Well, I can assure you, I was ready to yell at the top of my lungs. I mean, if there was anything I wanted, it was some money. I figured it would take the heat off for a little while. Ray suggested that I go out and buy this book. It's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And you know, he said there's a secret in this book. And he said if you can find the secret in the book, you can have anything you seriously want. Now, you take a person that's unhappy, not very healthy, is in debt, you'd have a difficult time accepting that. I was 26, and I just couldn't accept the idea. But as Ray said, your way's not working, why don't you try his? And that's what I'd like to suggest to you today. If you're not getting the results you want, your way obviously isn't working, why don't you try ours? Now, I often mention that John and I have got license to brag about every idea we use because none of them are ours. We don't claim that we've originated these ideas. In fact, we openly admit we haven't. We've just gathered them from books here and seminars there and great teachers all over the world. And what we've done is put them together in an organized, coherent manner. So if your way is not giving you the results you want, I would suggest that you take a real serious look at these ideas. Now, I looked for the secret and I couldn't find it, but I found in one place here, he said a peculiar thing about this secret is that those who once acquire it and use it find themselves literally swept on to success with but little effort, and they never again submit to failure. What a marvelous promise. He said if you doubt this, study the names of those who have used it wherever they've been mentioned. Check their records for yourself and you'll be convinced. Now he lists upwards of 100 names here. He's got Henry Ford, William Wrigley, James J. Hill, George Eastman, Theodore Roosevelt. He goes on here, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, Luther Burbank, Woodrow Wilson. How could I relate to any of those people? I couldn't relate to them. But you see, in that first part, he said, check their names or check their records wherever they've been mentioned. So I did that. And I got out books on Edison, and I got books on Rockefeller, and I got books on Woodrow Wilson, and all the great people that he had mentioned here. And you know what I found? I found they were no different than you. They were no different than me. Many of them had very little formal education, which made me feel fairly comfortable because I didn't either. Many of them had very, very rough roads to start on. But I found out we were essentially all the same. Do you know what was different? The results they were getting. And as I studied on here further, in his chapter on persistence, and he mentions that persistence to the quality or to the character of the human being is like what carbon is to steel, he said the only thing that he could find in Edison or Ford that he never found in everyone else was persistence. They'd get a hold of an idea and they'd stick with that idea. And I look back in my own life and I never did that. I'd try something a couple of times, and if it was rough, I quit. I'd have people saying, oh, Bob, why don't you just give it up? I'd say, yeah, you're right, and I would. Now, you see, the people I was mixing with, they were losing too. I never stuck at anything. So I made up my mind, if I ever found this secret, I'd work it right until I died. Now, I did find the secret. It was in 100 different places in the book, and it was simply sit down, decide what you want, write it on a card, carry the card in your pocket, and read it as often as possible every day. Now, keep in mind, I was earning $4,000, I owed $6,000. I was sitting in a fire hall at the time, and I wrote on the card that I was going to have in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970, $25,000. Now, I wrote that on the card in 1960. You know, the idea of having $25,000, it was sort of a fantasy. I don't think there was $25,000 in the whole fire hall at the time. Now, I wrote that in the card in 1960. Keep in mind, I gave myself a decade to pull this deal off. I really didn't believe it was going to happen. But I found out a couple of things. I found if you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. And you know, William James, back around the turn of the century, he said, believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. Well, I did what he suggested. I read this card every day. I'd carry it around and I'd just keep reading it. And one day one of the guys in the fire hall got a hold of it and they pulled the card away and they passed it all around. Everybody started to laugh. Proctor's going to get rich. I had a chap in a seminar the other day that he said the same thing had happened to him. He was in a seminar and he got one of these gold cards and they passed it around at work and he said, everybody laughed at me, but he said, I'm winning. Now, I didn't read the card in front of anyone any longer, but I kept reading it. I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd sit in the toilet and lock the door, and I'd read the card. Or I'd be driving down the street, and I'd come to a traffic light, and I'd haul the card out, and I'd read it. Now, something very funny happened to me. 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, that's an enormous change, and it went well beyond $1 million in a year. Now, that was not supposed to happen. See, everything I'd been taught since I was a little boy indicated that if you don't go to school, you can't win. If you don't have business experience, you can't win. I had not gone to school. My second month in high school, they asked me to leave. I'll never forget how happy I was when they made that decision. Yeah. As I look back, they were probably much happier than I was when they made that decision. But here I was, I was 16, I had very little knowledge, I had absolutely no skills, and at the very best, my attitude was poor. What chance did I have? I really didn't have any, but I didn't know that. And so I just bummed around from job to job, in and out of the Navy, in and out of factories, in and out of bars, mostly in and out of the bars, until I was 26. Here I was at 26 when Ray sat down with me. I had very little knowledge, absolutely no skills, and my attitude had not improved greatly. But he introduced me to this idea. And I found that it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You may not have a colorful background, and maybe you have. You may not have a lot of formal education, and maybe you have. But it really doesn't matter if you've got a goal and you're willing to stick to it and study the laws, you're going to find out that you can win.
Man, Proctor was breaking down nuggets. All right, you guys, let's get into some takeaways. Excited to hear you guys' takeaways as well. Couple takeaways that jumped out for me is that the comfort zone. And you know, I think we've all heard the comfort zone. You know, your success is in the comfort zone. You don't grow in the comfort zone, all these things. But to understand the comfort zone, number one, the comfort zone is where a lot of people want to get to. They want to get to where it feels good, where you got a nice house, where you got some good money, where you feel good, look good. So it's like a thing people want, is coveted. So it would be counterintuitive to say, hey, I don't want to be there. So just understanding that number one, it is where a lot of people want to go. So maybe that's why a lot of people hang out there. But then if you understood, he said, nothing can stay the same. And that's actually a law of the universe. There's many laws of the universe. Some we're aware of and some we aren't. Like everybody knows about the law of gravity pretty much, but maybe everybody doesn't know that nothing is still. The only thing that is constant is that everything constantly changes. Change is the only constant. Even your arm, the chair, this computer, everything is moving at an atomic level, meaning that down to the atoms and the electrons and the nucleus, everything is moving at such a rapid speed. Nothing is still. So if you understand that, you understand that nothing can stay the same. So it's either growing or it's disintegrating. It's either living and expanding or it's dying. So in the comfort zone, there is no staying the same. So if you understand that, that understanding gave me an insight into the comfort zone makes me not grow, makes me actually die because I'm not getting better anymore. Because I'm either growing or I'm dying. And if I stop getting uncomfortable and doing new things, then I stop growing. And that's when the understanding of why the comfort zone would maybe not be a good place to stay. And that was really powerful for me to understand, like, okay, when I've gotten in my comfort zones and things feel good, we got a nice place and we're making good money and I've got good health results, why would I want to leave? Why would I want to try new things? I just got to this place that I got out of my comfort zone to get to. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but I'm like, maybe that's what you thought. I work really hard to get these health results. I work really hard to get this job. I work really hard to get this house. I work really hard to get this car, or whatever it is for you. And it's like, why would I want to leave? I just work really hard to get here. But now I understand that if I don't work really hard to get to another place, my here in a few years won't be where I want it to be. And take this into account. The same thing goes for your money. This is something that makes sense to me. When the gas started going up, cost of living started going up, rent started going up. Do you remember there was a time not too long ago, I remember so vividly, gas was like $1.30. When I first got my car, it was $1.30. And then it shot up to $4. I was like, what the heck just happened? Nobody was driving everywhere. Everybody was trying to catch a ride. That's called inflation. Your dollar today won't be your dollar tomorrow, because the same principle is still at work. Inflation grows at 3 to 4% a year. So if you literally leave your money where it is right now in a bank, you make less than 1% on interest. That means you're actually losing money. And that, for me, makes sense, because I work hard to get this money, and now I don't have to work hard for it. It just comes. Remember, you speak what you want into existence. But if I just leave it, it'll be worth less tomorrow than it is today. Why? Because it's staying the same, which means it's actually moving backwards. Oh, now I get it. Okay, so Rox, what nuggets you got for us? Hit us with the nuggetry.
So for me, I love the whole comfort zone thing. I thought that was awesome. And then I loved how he talked about how the vast majority of people drag their experiences from the past into the future. And that really reminded me of even this past weekend that we just did Landmark, and it was all about that. Like we want to create a future, but we do it with the experiences of the past that we brought into the now, and then we expect to create a brand new future and an amazing future, but always with the lens of the past. So to me, that was just amazing, because I was able to identify, for instance, for me, how I dragged my past experiences into my now and expecting to create a whole different future, but I really can't, because it's all done from the past. So that was really big. And then I loved how he talked about, if you're not getting the results that you want, try something new. So many people, I remember for me, for instance, I used to not have what I wanted, yet I wasn't open to doing the things that people were telling me to do, although they were more successful than me.
Shout out to the family yesterday at holiday dinner that laughed at us going to a seminar.
Yeah, so they were laughing at us.
Told them we doubled our income, and they looked at us I'm like, if somebody told me they doubled their income off a seminar, I'd be like, where's it at? But hey, everybody.
But see, most people, they're not getting the results that they want, and
he just asked if he could go to a park and work out at a park by himself and train himself. Shout out to my little brother. I know
he's not on, but
I'm gonna share it with him.
So that was okay, because so many times I've done that, and I see that, and it's so true. So just remember, if you're not getting the results that you want, you got to be willing to try something new, even if it's a seminar that costs $600 or $1,000. Literally, you're not where you want to be, and if you're not where you want to be, and if you don't know everything that you need to know, then maybe it's a great opportunity to start doing new things to get the results that you're seeking for. So I really love that. And then last one, I loved how you said that we have a reservoir of all we need inside of us. The talents, the power, everything is inside. We just have to be really willing to unlock those powers in order to create whatever it is that we're meant out to create.
Powerful. The reservoir, born rich. I love that. I love that. So let's get a few shares. Brooks, my man, was the first man on. I'm excited to hear from you. What you got for us?
One thing that stood out to me is persistently write everything. Persistently write everything, and then he's like, if you continue to believe something, it eventually come true. So I like that part of that.
Go. Continuously believe something and eventually becomes true. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking, whether it's positive or negative. Shalonda, what's up? Hit us with it. What you got?
What's up? I'm Shalonda from Phoenix, Arizona. My nugget that I got was comfort, and I'm comfortable. comfort, stuck, not making progress. I was in that position. Didn't really like it much because I was too comfortable, not making progress. But once I start Herbalife, I started getting uncomfortable. I started moving, getting results, and just always trying something new. So since then, I've been doing that, and it's been a whole game changer, and I'm very grateful for that.
Dope. Already down 6.6 pounds, huh?
Yep.
Beast mode. Your results are great. Keep it up. Good job. I see you.
Thank you.
Dope. Who else we got that's excited to share their takeaway? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a smile. I'm seeing a few people. Give me a smile. Thumbs up. Armani, what's up, brother? Where are you calling in from? My bad. There you go. My bad. There we go.
All right, so guys, Armani, calling from Inland Empire, California. And one of my shares I really like or got a good like nugget from was stick with everything, because actually it was Mark Hughes. He said being president's team in 16 years isn't that bad, right? Like that's exactly the same. It's still persistence. Some people get there in 2, what were the soup, or some people get there in 16 years. Either way, you're a presidency member. You're 1%. So that's what it really got to me, because persistence is key. And of course, when you get uncomfortable, you grow. So that also just kind of like goes with being persistent. That's why I like it a lot.
Dope. Persistence is key. Love it. Love it. Great job, Armani. Let's get one more share. The chef in the kitchen cooking it up. Marv, where you at?
What up, guys? What up? This is Marvin from LA. One of the biggest takeaways Aubrey took it away was the uncomfortable part. Like, I usually sometimes feel like we always stay comfortable, used to the same routine. You gotta just change it up, spark something different in your life, and be motivated, and don't be scared to try different things. That's one of the biggest things. Just keep it going, keep it active.
Nice. There you go. Don't be scared to try different things. Have the idea. I love what he said. He said, being open-minded, meaning that when a new idea comes, that if it doesn't fit with what you already think, that you don't just discard it, that you have the mind that when a new idea comes, if it's better than an existing idea. I've even seen this happen with me. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, my stepdad saw Roxy and I's car. We got a new car, the BMW, and he was like, oh, man, you know what you should do? And immediately it set off something in me, and I didn't see it till after. He was talking about getting like a hand washer instead of washing with the regular scrubber that, they have at the outdoor washes or whatever it is. And I immediately was like, no, I'm good. I know. And then I had to catch myself. It's also in the languaging. I learned something that when I talk to people, make a suggestion, I'm not going to say, you know what? Because then it sounds like they don't know. So it means that you're like you're putting them up on something because they don't know. Instead of, hey, you know what? One thing I tried that helped me, I learned something about languaging. At Landmark, they said, hey, I'm going to invite you to consider something. I like that languaging. But just an idea, I was like, why wouldn't I take that on? Why wouldn't I check that out? Because maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a way I can upkeep the Beamer even better than an idea I have right now. It doesn't mean that I don't know anything or that I'm not good or that he's better than me. It's just he's suggesting an idea to me. And that's something I get to learn. Roxy's nodding her head like in agreement. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, I get to recognize where I
He's like,
get to get better.
no, we're good.
All right, cool. I recognize it. We've moved on. Thank you. All right, you guys. Man, thank you guys so much for tuning in live. Thank you guys, everybody that's watching the recording. I'm just going to ask that we don't be the only one to get these nuggets from Bob Proctor that we pay him for. Repost the link when it's recorded and put on Facebook or on your Instagram. Repost a flyer or repost any image or any post that represents your takeaway from today. Pay this information forward. Pass it along, because when you pass it along, you actually learn it even deeper. For real. That's why I love Triple M. When I get to talk about what I'm learning, I learn it even deeper. Because if you really want to know something, you got to teach it. So pay it forward. Thank you guys so much. I really acknowledge you guys for being on live the day after Christmas. Let's get it. Where's everybody at? You're unmuted. Let's get it, baby. Woo! Let's get it. Happy Monday. Let's work.